the wiser that you are, the more that you can see that this thing called suffering, this thing that we're always trying to avoid, is actually a profound teacher. Why? How? Because suffering functions like a feedback mechanism. You do something, you get feedback, right? You get feedback from the universe when you take actions. Now, here's the thing. You have an ego. Your ego will want to do a bunch of very gratifying things that feel nice, things that are pleasurable, right? Thing is, sometimes this backfires. You get suffering. And the reason this happens from a very deep perspective is that if there was no corrective mechanism, if there was nothing in place to stop you from just blindly pursuing egoic desires and pleasure all day long, every day, you'd never find yourself. You'd never find truth. So the universe, what it's done for you, is it's put this mechanism of suffering in place so that you can't do foolish things and then get away with that. Because notice, that's not how it's set up, right? If you really go meta and you really just observe reality, because listen, man, you are reality, okay? So you got to start to see what's going on here. You got to ask this stuff, become a philosopher. And when you start to do this, and you look and you ask and you inquire, it will become apparent to you, I can't get away with just following my ego. I have these desires, I have these drives, I have these wants and needs, but if I just go for them, I suffer. But why? Why do I suffer? Well, if we're being introspective, we can look within, we can feel within. And what we feel intuitively is sort of what we've been explaining here, which is this deeper meta answer of, the universe is set up in a way that is supporting you to eventually get to truth. And I say eventually because the universe hasn't made it easy for itself, right? This is the whole game, right? This is the game of waking up, awakening. Because you have the ego, you have the mind, and this makes you feel like you don't know who you are, but really this is an illusion. You do know who you are, but this mind, this ego mind, obscures truth. It obscures intuition. You can't know this stuff because you've got this mind or this illusion that is up and active and making it hard for you to remember yourself or know yourself. But ultimately, you do know who you are. You do know your essence. You do know what you are, right? And if it feels like you don't, or you kind of forget, which of course, you will because you've fallen asleep as a human being, you use suffering to help you wake back up. Because what happens is you'll want to follow your ego, right? And you can't change this, not to begin with at least, because you have this, hardwired into you. It's your programming to have these egoic drives towards really like carnal stuff, man, sex, food, this kind of thing. And you'll max it out. You'll really go for it. You'll push the limits of it until eventually, suffering, fuck. And don't get me wrong, you will try. You will try to find yourself through sex. You will try to find God through food. It won't work though. Instead, you get suffering. Notice how you feel called to use something higher. You've tried to use something lower to, get it, but it didn't work. So you've got to use something higher. What's that higher thing? That higher thing is wisdom. It's intuition. So when you suffer, it makes you look inward because you just kind of know that didn't work. And I'm suffering. I want to stop this, please. What do? I use my wisdom. And what is this wisdom exactly? Wisdom is connection to God, connection to source. It is your ability to use your higher reasoning, your higher intuition to help you navigate reality and make decisions that are good for you. In a more human relative way, we could say it's good judgment. Wisdom is good perception, good discernment. But where does that come from? How is that possible? Divinity. It's the answers here, man, they're not logical, they're not worldly, they're not psychological. No, they're always ultimately divine. So the source of your wisdom is not your brain, it's God. It's consciousness. This is the source of wisdom, the true source. So now you use your wisdom, you apply it, which, what does that mean? It probably means you pull yourself out of that sex, pull yourself out of that binge eating or whatever it is, pull yourself out of the lower carnal desires that you have. And you move yourself toward something which ends up being more pure. And obviously, man, it's not a moral purity, it's a spiritual purity. It's something that feels right and feels pure for you. Final insight for today is this, man. Listen, really listen to your suffering, because you'll want to push it away. You'll want to block it out. You'll want to avoid it. You can do that. We all do that. That's what we normally do. You want to try and live with more wisdom. You want to try and listen to it more. It'll take up some balls, because that will mean confronting some truth, and we as egos don't like to do that. But if you do it, you'll grow. And when you grow, you self-actualize faster. And you probably want that. I know I do. Anyway, we'll call it there. Take care, my friend. And as always, peace.